Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. My name is Kay and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for each one of you who have subscribed, for those who watch my videos and you also like and comment and share. I do appreciate all of you. Thank you so very much. Today I just want to share a testimony of something that I went through, and my intention is not to make anyone look evil or paint an organization as a bad organization. No, 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 that is not my intention. My intention is to encourage somebody who is going through a difficult season or maybe a difficult time in their lives, just so that they will know that your morning is coming. And seasons don't last forever. That is why we have the 4 seasons, to just encourage us that a situation may come our way, but we will go through it. Yeah. So this is something that happened some time back. I was working in this office. Of course, at first it's okay. I'm enjoying the job and everything, but after a while, I started feeling like, job, I'm done. I don't feel it anymore. Even going to the office is a struggle every day. I'm like, Lord, I want a new job. Please open a door for me. Now, let me just give a caution on that. It does not necessarily mean that anytime you feel that way concerning a job that you're doing or a business that you're carrying out, that it is time for you to transition to something else. No, it does not necessarily mean that. It could be your flesh throwing a tantrum. So you need to know the difference so that you don't end up making a mistake and then causing problems to yourself and maybe your dependents. Okay, so please understand the seasons that you're in. If it is just your flesh throwing a tantrum, you have to keep on going. If it is your season to leave, then of course you will be led to what you should do next, right? So I knew my time is up. I need to get out of this place. God, please make a way for me. So that was my prayer. Please open another door for me, because I'm done in this office. I just want to do something else. So at that time, a friend of mine had invited us to this church. So we had been visiting this church for about 3 months or so. So we were pretty new. So one day she calls me and tells me, there are these jobs that have been advertised in the website, the church website. Why don't you apply for this particular position? And I argue with her and tell her, I don't think so, because I'm fairly new, and I don't think they will pick somebody like me. Hizi jobs utapatia mtu ambaye amekuwa kwa hiyo church faithfully kwa muda mrefu na yuko jobless, not somebody who has just come in the other day alafu is taking this position. But she insisted. She said, just try, you never know. So I said, let me just try out. So I sent out my CV. After a few days, nikaitwa interview, nikaenda nikafanya interview vizuri, nikamaliza. They said, if you qualify, we'll call you for another interview, a second interview. And I said, okay. I went back to the office, nikaendelea na kazi yangu kama kawaida. Now, after going for the first interview, a few days after that, I had this dream. And I've said before that God speaks to us in many ways. And one of the ways he speaks to us is through dreams. And so I had this dream. It was a nightmare. And in the dream, I saw this girl who told me about this job. She was coming towards me and talking to me about this position. And then as she's coming, immediately I see this evil entity blocking her. And then it's like she disappeared. And now this evil entity comes, and it was a demon. It was so angry at me and started scratching my hands, okay? So I can see the anger, even the eyes. I can remember that dream. It's like imefanyika tu jana. The eyes were extremely red, and it was scratching my hands with a lot of anger. So I was screaming, and then I woke up in that state. So when I woke up, I was like, oh my goodness, what is this dream about? Okay. Now my understanding was, because I saw this girl coming and she was talking to me about this position, alafu uyu demon aka block, my understanding was God was giving me this job, but the devil did not want me to have it, and he was very angry that I was going to try out for it or something. And so I decided I was going to pray. So I told my husband, of course I prayed immediately, but I told him later on I'll go to the church and pray, and just pray about it for a while. So I went to the church to pray later on. But before I went to the office, of course, alafu nikasema during my lunch break, that is when I'll go. So I called the headquarters. See, I had their number. I called them and told them I'd like to go and pray in the church. Is the church open? Just giving my details. So the secretary took down my number, my name, and the time that I wanted to go and pray. And then she told me I should call me back. So she called me back and told me, yes, we've notified the guard. You can go and pray. He's expecting you. So during my lunch break, nikaambia colleague wangu chani and the kidogo, I'm going to pray. Of course, I did not tell anybody about the dream. This was just between me and God, and of course my husband knew about it. So mimi nikaenda kanisani, saying I'm going to stand in the gap, and claim my job, and pray. So I went. When I got to the church, the watchman said, oh, you're so and so. Yes, I gave my name. Okay, nimeambia unakuja, I was expecting you, come in. Now that place was quite open back then, kuko kumejengwa, so there was a lot of wind that would come from time to time, extreme winds, beba dust. It was quite crazy. So he explained to me, because of the winds, the church was a tent, okay? We have to keep the tent closed kwa sababu dust itaingia alafu inachafua viti, okay? So I told him it's all right. I'm only going to be here for about an hour, so there is no need to keep it open. Sikutaka kumpatia ile extra work that I'm praying there, nimefungwa everything for ventilation, vumbi inaingia, and then I leave him cleaning up the place. So I just told him it's okay, nita survive too, sikutaka sana. So of course we closed back. Now the tent was made in such a way that the front part, kwa sababu siku ya services huwa inatolewa yote, so hapa kukuwa na madirisha, this front part, it was all closed. I think dirisha ilikuwa huko mwisho. It was quite huge. It was quite a huge tent. Alafu there was those windows on the sides, zile colorless. So there were several, but they were all closed kwa sababu of course dust na nini hazifunguliwa. Nobody was in the church except me. So I started praying. It got extremely hot. The area is very, very hot. So it got very hot. I tried kidogo mpaka sema basi niko hapa peke yangu. What I was wearing is, I had this top. It's like a spaghetti top, but with the thick sleeves. But because I was, of course, going to the office, I had on another top. So hapa pako open, and I did not button it. It's just a top that nimeweka juu hivi. So that's what I had. So I said, with this heat, and I'm praying nini, let me remove it. At least nipate nini kidogo. It was extremely bad, and so I removed that top. So I'm left with this thick-sleeved top, so like a spaghetti top, something like that. I don't know what people call that these days, like a vest or something. And so I started praying. I'm standing, I'm walking a little bit, pacing, and then sitting down like that. And of course I'm praying. I'm not just praying for myself, because you can not just pray for yourself. I prayed for that job, I prayed for that position, I prayed for the church, just anything that came into my heart. And so after a while, I noticed somebody running on the sides. The tents kuna zile ziko colorless. So I noticed somebody running and then running back. So I was like, for a while, for a short time, I was like, what could be happening? But then I said, anyway, let me finish what has brought me here. I think everything is okay. I don't have to get distracted. So I continued praying, but shortly I sat down. Kidogo, I'm seeing people opening the tent, wanachungulia, and then they close, they go back. So I think like 3 people or so did that. So when I was like, maybe there are people who want to come in and pray, so let me wrap up. Besides, I am actually done. I was done. So I said, anyway, let me just wrap up. I allow other people to come and pray. Excuse me. And so I wrapped up. So when I'm going to open the tent, sasa ile zip, it has a zip up, ndo mlango. So I open the tent. When I'm getting out, I am seeing smoke. The watchman had, there are these portable shacks, kama kibanda hivi, but a small one. I think most of you have seen them, just for the watchman. You can actually move, it's movable, yeah, but it's very tiny. So I'm seeing smoke coming out from that shack. So I'm like, what happened? So I'm seeing the watchman, he's in a very bad mood. He's like looking at me like, and there are a few people there, commotion kiasi. So I'm saying, umepigia ofisi ukawaambia kwamba moto imetokea? He's not answering me. So I called the office, yeah. I called the office, I said, there's been a fire, please talk to the watchman. So I give the watchman the phone, akazunguka na huko akaenda kuongea. Now, kidogo, while I'm still there, I'm seeing one of the associate pastors coming in. So associate pastor anakuja, I can see even in his face is like he's ready for spiritual battle, you know, and spiritual warfare. So he comes in and looks at me and say, "Kay, it's you." I'm like, "Yeah." Are you the one who was praying in church? I'm like, "Yes, it was me praying in church." And he's like, you know, a sigh of relief or something like that. And I ask him, why? What's wrong? Then now is when he explains to me and tells me. Of course, he checks around and finds out what has happened. Sa hiyo watchman ashanirudishia phone now, ameulizwa a few questions. Then he tells me, watchman amepiga simu kwa headquarters, and he has said there is somebody who is walking naked in church who has caused the fire kwa hiyo shack yake. Okay? So he tells me, now I understand why he said that, because he was told not to be cooking in that shack because of the extreme winds. Upepo itapiga hiyo stove, because he was using a stove. Upepo inaweza piga hiyo stove na moto ingie kwa ichome hiyo that shack of his. So he was told not to be doing that. So he was actually doing something that was not allowed, okay, by his employer. Now, so the pastor, of course, understands. He tells me, now I know, I think that is why he just wanted to cover himself by blaming it all on you. Kidogo nikapigiwa simu, bishop akapiga, secretary, the admin called me, they found out. I just explained, I said I did not remove. In fact, I even told that pastor, it was this top, because ni ya ndani nilitoa tu juu ya joto, you know, and I didn't want to open anything for ventilation. I was only going to be there for an hour anyway. And besides, I didn't want tena vumbi anze kuingia alafu nipatie wochi kazi tena ya kupangusa. It wasn't necessary. So thank God he understood, and he believed me, okay? So I went back to the office thinking, the enemy may turn around this situation, because mimi nimeenda pale. Of course, I did not explain to him that I had this dream and that is why I was, no. You don't say that. I just say, I said I wanted to pray. So, kasema, wait, that now the enemy may succeed. That's what I thought, because you see now all these phone calls, I'm like, what happened? Were you ulikuwa naked? Nini. So I said, anyway, I've done what I was supposed to do, but I regretted going to pray in that church. I was like, I wish I could have just walked into any church hapo karibu niombe na nitoke. I wished I did that, because now I've like brought problems again to myself. So I was like, okay, whatever happens will happen. And a few days, another phone call, come for the second interview, you've qualified. So I go for the second interview. Now, ukishuka kwa matatu, on that stage, you cross over, and then the gate for the ministry is on the other side. So I alighted, I checked, there was no oncoming vehicle in sight, nothing. So I started crossing, and this vehicle comes from nowhere, and it almost hits me. Thank God for he saved me that day. I just saw God saving me. Ile inaitwa umeona mkono wa Bwana. So aliscreech ile na brakes nini, all that. And thank God there were a few people on that stage. I saw one like alishikilia kichwa hivi na mwingine mdomo. I don't know if the other one did, but it was that crazy, okay? It was going to be a very terrible accident. For some reason, I was able to cross very fast. Naya screech, I hit brakes, and I managed. He didn't hit me. he didn't stop, he didn't like ask me are you okay or anything. He just drove off. Okay, hata pia yeye I believe alikuwa na shock. So my feet could not carry me. I was super shaken by that incident. So nikaingia tu kwa gate and I sat down on the ground because I couldn't even walk to the office. That is how weak I was. So I sat there for a while and just told God, please give me the strength because I want to get there, finish. Remember, I'm supposed to go back to the office. So for some reason, kidogo kidogo nikajikokota. I managed to get to the office. Secretary asked me what happened, nini nikamexplainia. So when my time arrived to go to the interview, because you know there are several people, several jobs, so I went in. The first time it was just the bishop and the admin, but this time the bishop's wife was also there. So it's the bishop's wife, the bishop himself, and the admin. So I do my interview. Of course, at first they asked me what happened, explain again. So I explained myself again, and this and this and this and this and this. Okay, they said okay. So interview kaendelea. They told me if you qualify tutakuita. So I left. But I was so shaken by that accident, almost accident happening. And I went back to the office in Kaka. Thank God after a few days, I got a job. I was told you have qualified, umepata kazi. I was of course very happy. I got somebody to replace me, to take my place in that office. Ndo nisimwache my boss like that. So when I did that, I'm excited. I'm like, hey, victory. The enemy wanted to take my job, but hey, you know, God came through, you know, I'm just feeling victorious and all that. Kumbe chungu changu kiko motoni. Wah. Anyway, so I start my new job. Secretary akanipatia orientation, you know. I'm excited, I'm happy. Of course, the job ilikuwa mbali, but nisema tu it's okay because it's something that I like doing anyway. So after a short while, I started noticing the bishop's wife has this attitude towards me, you know. So secretary, she's the one, anytime the bishop's wife would come, anaenda nampokea, she could see, anaenda nampokea, anakuja namwekea vitu zake kwa ofisi and all that. So she had told me, in an incident that I'm not around, make sure you do that, okay? Ile heshima nini vitu kama hizo. So this day, I think she had stepped out or something. So when I saw her coming, of course, nikaenda nikumpokea, nini, namona kuna mood mbaya. You know, you can tell when somebody doesn't like you, okay? So I'm just saying, I'm like, Mom, how are you? Nini, mimi mwenyewe hapo nimejipendekeza, I'm just doing everything that I can. Nikampokea, nikampelekea ofisini, namwambia nikampangusia tablet, iPad yake, nika set up, you know, all that. But this attitude was not good. So, but I tried, I just kept doing that. Every time the secretary was not there, nitaenda nimpokee. But after some time, naona nikienda ananiambia I'm okay, you know. So siwezi kumpokea. Nikienda kwa ofisi yake, maybe because of paperwork, you know, or for one reason or another, I'm in her office, I want to help her, you know, because it's good, you do good. The Bible tells us, just do your part, do good. Hizi vitu zingine useme timine yanichukia basi mimi nitafanya pia chuki, haitakusaidia. So I was doing my part because this job I know it was God who gave me, right? So nikawa naenda kwa ofisi yake na jaribu kumwambia mom, can I help you here? Nikuwekee kama ni chai naona imewekwa hapo, maybe hajawekewa kwa kikombe. I would ask her, can I serve you the tea? She said, no, I'll do it myself. You know, she was really like angry at me. So one day, after a few days, she came to the office where secretary na mimi tunakaa, and she started talking. She would come and talk to the secretary peke yake, you know, ignoring me, but of course I would still greet her and be kind to her and be polite and do my part. So this day she was talking to the secretary and saying, I'm from the other branch or the church. A strong wind came and the tent ikainua hiyo tent, yeah? The strong wind ikainua hiyo tent. And then she looked at me with so much anger. Akasema, she didn't address me, but she was looking at me, and she was addressing the secretary, and she said, from that day of that fire, bad things have been happening. And you know, she's looking at me like, it is all your fault. I know what you did, you know, something something like that. And so me niko tu hapo, I'm just smiling because there's nothing. What can you do? Can you start saying you are accusing me wrongly? You cannot. So I just stood there. I mean, I sat there sitting, and I just did not do anything. But I kept doing my best. But it became so bad. I started praying. In fact, I had started praying before and telling God, please open her eyes. My prayer, I prayed for two things. Number one, God, please open her eyes so that she can see me for who I am and know that I don't have any evil intentions and I'm not an evil person, okay? So that was my prayer item one. The second prayer item I was praying was, God, please let me find favor in her eyes, because once I find favor with her also, all will be well. Manake sasa utakuwaje, ni kama you are like working for a boss who hates you. It's a difficult situation. So it became extremely hard for me, because I have to go to her office. Sometimes anakuja lazima niende nimpokee. Hata kama anakataa ananiambia I'm okay. I would still go and I would still offer help. Yeah? At least I reject, but I've done my part. So I decided this thing, I better just ask if I can work from the other office kule karibu na home. Niseme I can work remotely. I said, let me just try. So my husband encouraged me, just try and ask if that can happen. At least utakuwa umemwondokea, so that it's not very hard for you, okay? So I made the request, nikasema please naomba nifanye kule. Why? Nikasema fare, I just used fare, ni pesa nyingi kukuja paka hapa, and I'll still do my best and I'll still work, I'll do the same thing, but now remotely from the other office. There was another office huko kwa the other place. So after a few days nikaambiwa it's okay, nimekuwa allowed work remotely. I was so happy. I was like, at least kule nita breathe, I'll be happier. So I transferred to the other office. So now I'm working from that office, secretary, orientation, kama kawaida ni nini. She was a very nice girl as well. We got along fine. So she ataingia afungue ofisi, aniingie. I had my own office hapo ndani, angalau peace for some time, okay? Now, of course, we had evening services. I'm not so sure if it was on a Tuesday or on Wednesday. I'm not very sure, but one of those days. And so sometimes it will be the bishop's wife who would come and preach. So ile siku anakuja, anani-ignore, anaongea tu na secretary hapo, nini. Of course the hate is still there. After that, tunaenda sasa kwa service ikiisha, we would get a lift. Church workers tunapata lift from the people who will come for the service, tunakuja home na maisha inaendelea. Now the bishop used to travel quite a lot back then, out of the country for speaking engagements, preaching and stuff like that. So at this particular time, he was out of the country. Tulikuwa tumeenda tumefanya service imeisha, tumerudi. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you one incident that happened. One day after the service, my husband could not come with me for the evening services because he was working until around 8:30. So normally I would after service nitaenda kwa ofisi yake, alafu sasa turudi sote home, yeah, because hiyo ndio time angekuwa anafunga. Service would be from around 7:30 7:40 tumekuwa tumemaliza PM in the evening. That is the evening service. So this particular day I see one of the mamas in church ambao walikuwa wanakuja na gari, and then she would always give us a lift paka kwa stage ama wapo town, alafu ndio tunajipanga. So when I saw her, I knew niko sorted, but anyway it is nice to just ask, assume. So of course I would go and ask her, can I get a ride with you? And so that day she told me, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't bring the car. Excuse me, I didn't come with the vehicle, but I'm getting a ride with the bishop's wife. And I think it's just me and the secretary. So there should be space for one more person. Why don't you go and ask her? Sasa she was talking to someone else, na walikuwa wamemalizana. So it's like, I could of course huwezi ambia mtu no, it's okay. Wataanza kushuku, kwa nini unasema hivyo? Why are you saying it's okay? Na amekwambia just go and ask. So she started walking towards the bishop's wife. So I had no choice, I had to go and ask. So my God, I just went to her and said, Mom, please, can I get a ride with you mpaka hapo pale fulani? And she was like, Of course, why not? You know, for a moment there, I was like, my prayers have been answered. Amma, what is this? Of course, I know that even in our homes and our families, sometimes when we are having issues and visitors come, we don't show them. Yeah, we cover that. You know, love covers a multitude of sins. So you just cover that, and then you can deal with it later on. So I understood, of course, Aizi Onesha what to a church, that there's beef, you know, there's hatred and all that. So we got into the car and I told her, please, nitashuka mali flani, and she was like, are you okay? Are you going to be okay in this place? I thought I should just drop you home. I'm like, no, I'm okay because I'm meeting my husband. He's like, you're sure you'll be fine, you know? God bless you. I was like, hey, okay. So kumbe something was cooking, you know. So I, of course, nikashuka. After a few days, okay, I left the office. We used to close at around 5. So after 5, I left to go home. Now the secretary, sometimes she would remain, maybe anasema anafanya kitu ama anangoja mtu, something like that. So she remained behind, and nimeshuka tu chini like 2 minutes. She calls me and tells me, umeenda mbali? I'm like, no, I'm just downstairs. And she tells me, please come back, mom is coming and she wants to see you. So I'm like, hey, what is this, you know? So antennas, I'm thinking, ama she wants to fire me, ama she wants to talk to me, ama ni reconciliation, ama Mungu amemuongelesha, amemtokea kwa, you know, vision. Awambia, K doesn't have any evil intention. Okay, anyway, so I go back. She comes in, she calls for me, I go, and she tells me, we are letting you go because we don't need your services anymore. So she's firing me. And I said, let me just ask her. I asked her, Mom, did I do anything wrong? And she says, no, we just don't need your services anymore. That is why. And she tells me, even the church, you don't have to come to the church anymore. You can join another church. And I was like, okay. And then she tells me, because sisi ndo tumekata contract yako, we are going to pay your salary at this month plus 1 month extra, yeah, salary. So I was like, okay, fine. So she tells me, hand in the office keys, hand in the laptop, hand in. So the good thing, I didn't have the office keys because the secretary would always open alafu jioni anafunga. So I only had the laptop. That is the only thing that belongs to this ministry. So I handed everything to her and I went home. The next day, of course, I was like, God, you're going to give me. I did my best, and if you took me to that job for a short season, I learned a few things, and all that is okay, you know, because even the Bible says, you know, long suffering, patience. This is what it's something good comes out of all that. Una grow thick skin. And so I just thank God, at least apata salary ya huo mwezi ukiisha, and then I'll also get extra. So I knew by then Mungu atakuwa amefungua another job, isn't it? So the next day, the admin calls me and he asks me what happened, and I just said I was just fired. Were you rude? What, did you like misbehave, or is there anything that happened? No, I said no, I did not do anything. I was just told that. So he asked me, were you working before? You were working before you joined us, isn't it? I said yes. So you stopped working at your previous job to come and join this ministry? I said yes. And then he told me, do not worry, everything will be okay. And so after the bishop yuko your time. So after a short time, he used to call me and tell me, go to the office, help out with 1, 2, 3. I'm a service even this and this is needed. So small assignments. So that month end, I received my salary. I did not get the extra, I just received the normal salary. But I said, since they're sending me wananipatia small assignments akufanya, maybe they are waiting for me to get something else to do, ndio sasa wa withdraw. So I said, it's okay, wa withdraw even the salary. So the other month again, my salary, they still sent me. So I was like working from home and doing small assignments and getting my salary. So I thank God for that. So I got my salary, and then I think I did get my salary for 3 months. Yeah, I think it was about 3 months or so. And then the bishop came, called me to the office, and told me, explain Were you rude to mom? Did you do anything to, cause her to take that decision and fire you? I said no. I explained no, I did not do anything. Of course, I could not tell him, she hated me from the very first time I saw her. No, of course, I did not say all that. I just said no, I did not do. I did everything, but she just told me I'm no longer needed. He said okay. But since I've been receiving my salary, napatiwa assignments, enda usaidia hapa, vitu kama hizo. Now, baada ya dhiki, faraja. That's why I'm saying there's a season for everything in life. There's a time to cry and there's a time to laugh. There's a time to cling and there's a time to let go, There's a time to mourn and there's a time to dance. Now, there's this job that I've been praying for a while, and I was telling God to give me an opportunity in that organization. But I'd forgotten about it, so it was not in my mind. So on the 3rd month of me working from home for the ministry in ports, I received a phone call. And this phone call is like, we are calling you for an interview. Are you still interested in this job? We want you to. So I'm like, yes, I was like, Jehovah God, thank you. You have come through for me. I was super excited. And so I went for the interviews. I did the orals. I did the written interview, everything. And by the grace of God, I passed and I got the job. And so I was so happy because God wiped my tears. I was in that ministry for 7 months. From the time I got employed, after that nikafutwa kazi, but nikaendelea angalau kupata mshahara wangu. I thank God. Until the time that I actually left to join this other organization was about 7 months. So I told God, thank you for the grace. I told the bishop, the admin, asanteni sana. Thank you so very much. I've gotten a job. So now I can now transition to this other job. And yes, I left the church because I was holding on to the church as much as the bishop's wife told me to leave. I couldn't leave because you see, I'm still paid. I'm still told go and help and do this, so it was a bit difficult. But then because I got this job, that's when now I left. And so my dancing season came. I went through a difficult time, but God made sure that I still got my salary. And coming to think of it, you might say then the enemy won, but no, the enemy did not win, because all things work together for good of those who love God. Now, if the bishop's wife had not caused me problem, I probably would not have come to work in this other office, which was closer to home, okay? So that was the first advantage that I got. And then if she had not fired me, it would have been difficult to join this other new organization, which was like a dream come true for me, okay? And I went on to work for this organization for years, and it was a blessing to me and my family. So, you see, at the end of the day, did it work out for my good? Yes. Maybe God wanted me to go through this process, learn a few things, grow a thick skin, There's a purpose for everything. But the season did come to an end, and I got my rest, God gave me rest on every side. Yeah, the benefits in this new organization, this new job, it was a dream come true. And so it was just a season that I went through, and God came through for me. So whatever it is that you're going through, I'm here to encourage you that seasons are there. That winter, yes, there's winter. Yeah, the winter can come. There's a time to mourn, there's a time to cry, but then there's also a time to dance. There's also a time to rejoice. There's a time to laugh, And so be encouraged that God is with you in every situation. Just pray. Na pia, at the same time, do not stay in the mountain for too long. Sometimes you get used to the situation, but that is not God's intention. Once maybe the purposes of God has been accomplished through that situation, you should transition to the next thing. So you should not also stay in that same mountain forever. Always understand your seasons and move with them. And so I hope I have inspired you and have encouraged you. And please remember, my intention is not to paint anyone as evil. The bishop's wife probably thought I was evil. The only thing that I wish she could have done is pray and ask God, what is the intention of this girl? Because then God would have revealed it to her. But anyway, it did work out for my good in the end. Don't you agree? Yeah. Because at least alinifuta, nikapata bado mshahara wangu na nikapata kazi yangu hii. Ingekuwa ngumu kusema I want to leave because I've gotten another job. It would have been very difficult, you know. And so I thank God for everything. And so be encouraged. God is good. God is faithful. I pray that God gives you the grace and strengthens you in every situation that you're going through. But remember, there's a time to laugh and there's a time to rest. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.